Hello friends and welcome to the tutorial. Today we are going to be drawing an elf princess using the Picasso Tab and Sketchbook Pro. The first step that I take is to import a photo of my pencil sketch into Sketchbook Pro. I usually just take a photo with the tablet's inbuilt camera and then place that photo on a separate layer within the Sketchbook Pro app. I pushed the opacity of the photo down and then this gives me a guide to work from. You can start drawing in the app on a blank canvas, or you can do your sketch traditionally and then import it into the app afterwards, whichever way that you find easier. Now let's start drawing our elf princess. When I am drawing faces, I like to start out with some basic guidelines. I'm drawing them here in the red coloured pencil. These consist of a rough circle, a line down the centre of the circle. This line is going to be the guide for the nose and the mouth placement. I then add two horizontal lines into the circle. These are the guides for the eye placement, and these two lines really help to get both eyes the same size when you're drawing them in. With this basic structure, I can now begin sketching in the rest of the face in the blue pencil. Whenever you're drawing a face like this, start with a circle and those guidelines, as it makes the placement of the facial features much easier. To form the chin, I start at the side of the circle guide, come down to a point, and then back up again to the other side of the circle. From there, I can add in lines to form the neck and the shoulders and the ears. In this case, the ears are large and pointed as I'm drawing an elf. And I continued on adding in the eyes, the mouth, the nose, the crown, and the hair. Feel free to pause the video at any time if you need to catch up. For the outline, I am turning down the opacity of the sketch layer and then locking that layer down. It's often a good idea to lock down the layers that you're not working on, as it avoids mistakes and having to go back and undo things later on. For the outline, I am using the fountain pen, a dark brown colour, and I have turned the predictive stroke tool on. This helps to smooth out the lines. I like to work in one small area at a time, and I use a uniform line weight for all of the base outlines. After all the lines are down, I can go back in and thicken some of the ones where I want to add extra dimension. For example, I thickened up the main outline of the whole drawing. I added extra thickness under the chin and around the hairline. This is personal preference, and you can certainly play around thickening up the lines that you would like to stand out on your drawing. You can also do this step on a separate layer, so it's easy to undo if you end up not liking it. Moving on to the colouring portion. I began by duplicating the line art layer, locking the top line art layer in place, and then working in the bottom one for this next step. I used the paint bucket tool to quickly fill in most of the colours, including the skin tone, hair, eyes, etc. Once this was completed, I created a new layer and added in some simple shading. To do this, I picked the fountain pen tool and I picked a slightly darker colour than the one already in the area that I wanted to shade. I'm adding in shadow lines under her chin, around the hairline, under and above the eyes, as well as shadow lines in the hair and the crown. This is another area that you can certainly experiment with. I've chosen to create a very simple block style shading, and this is a good place to start if you're a beginner and you want to practice adding some shading to your drawings. The final step in the colouring process was to add in some highlight lines. To do this, I set my colour to white and then turned the opacity of the brush stroke down to around 30%. This would help the highlight strokes to match every area that I placed them without having to go back and constantly change colours. Then, in the same way I added shadows, I went around and added in highlights, particularly in the crown, hair and eyes. Let's now add in a background. I am once more creating a new layer and then picking the shape tool from the top menu and placing a pink rectangle box behind the elf. To add in some extra details, I am taking the fountain pen and drawing in white leaves over the background box. The final step was to add in 3 teal circles to complete the background. I hope you enjoyed drawing the elf today. Thank you for watching.